Thomas Alva Edison was born on February 11, 1847, in Milan, Ohio. As a child, Edison had little education. He went to school for a few months until his teacher told Thomas's mother that he was unintelligent and could no longer participate. Thomas Edison was homeschooled by his mother and was self-taught by reading books. When he was 13, he took a job as a newsboy. He worked near the railroad selling newspaper, candy, and other goods. He used much of his free time reading science and technical books, and also had the opportunity to learn how to operate a telegraph. At age 16, Edison was proficient enough to work as a telegrapher full-time. He traveled across the country, lived in Boston, and later moved to New York, where he continued developing his skills. Being employed as a telegrapher helped Edison gain knowledge and experience in the science and technology industry. And before long, he was an independent inventor. He found time to get married to Mary Stilwell and start a family as well. Edison and his family moved to Menlo Park, New Jersey, where he created a research facility that included a machine shop and laboratories where he could work on his inventions. One evening in July 1877, Thomas Edison and his assistants were discussing things amongst each other when Edison had an idea. Why not adapt telegraph messages by speaking into a telephone mouthpiece that records sound back? They set out to work. They put a needle through paper and rollers to inscribe indentations which would move and reproduce the original sounds spoken to the device. Edison and his assistants had made a working product within an hour. They tried it out by speaking "Mary Had a Little Lamb" to the machine. The phonograph repeated jumbled words back, but that was a progress. They worked the rest of the night fiddling with the gizmo and replacing the paper and rollers with tinfoil, which worked much more efficiently. Edison didn't think that his invention would be commercially promising, and he intended people to use it for offices. In the fall, Edison found a way of recording sound and released one of his greatest and personal favorite inventions, the phonograph. This invention gave him the title the Wizard of Menlo. When people found out about the phonograph, they saw much greater possibilities on how it can be used, such as for music. Edison made many changes for his creation and sold a large amount of phonographs for many decades. Throughout his process of developing his phonograph, he claimed it as his favorite invention. He was determined to perfect it and make it a great success. In the fall of 1878, Thomas Edison's interest was piqued when he saw other inventors working on electric light. The type of technology they were using produced a light that was harsh on the eyes and too bright to be used indoors. Edison had begun to think about the problem of electric light and wanted to create a light that could be used indoors and would be helpful to people. He came up with an alternative to the harsh arc light others had been developing and made the incandescent bulb. The incandescent bulb delivers a mild electrical current inside a narrow filament that produces a soft glow. Although his incandescent light worked better than any other electrical light, it only burned for 1 to 2 hours. Edison assured that his revolutionary light was just one step away from a whole network of electrical power. It took years of experimenting with different materials to produce the perfect bulb, but he would not give up. On September 4, 1882, Edison stood in front of a crowd in Manhattan and flipped the switch to light hundreds of bulbs throughout the lower part of New York, Pearl Street. The incandescent light bulbs shone softly, powered by Edison's first commercial power station. This station provided electricity to customers in a 1 square mile area. Thomas Edison's power stations multiplied and later merged into the Edison General Electric Company. After the death of his wife Mary in 1884, Edison moved to New York with his 3 children and spent less and less time in Menlo Park working on his electrical industry. 1 year later, he met Mina Miller and fell in love. Edison moved to West Orange, New Jersey, and built an industrial research facility. Here he worked with William Dickinson to create the motion picture camera called the Vitascope. While Edison was still making improvements to the phonograph, he began creating a motion picture device in 1891. In just 2 years, Edison produced his Vitascope and began commercial production of movies. The first motion picture device was called the kinetoscope. This device used 35mm film with holes on the edges to fit into sprockets to secure it in the camera. The early movies were still photos played back in rapid sequence, like a stop-motion film. Inside the camera, there's hundreds of feet of film on 2 moving reels. The first movie player, the kinetoscope, was made for one person to view the images after putting a nickel in the slot and looking through a peephole, rather than being projected onto a screen. With over 1,093 U.S. patents and a model for modern industrial research, Thomas Alva Edison dies on October 18, 1931, in West Orange, New Jersey. Edison's motion picture movie camera brought to the public the first movies to be viewed on the large screen, leading to the motion picture industry of today. His phonograph set the music industry into motion and has evolved into stereos, iPods, and streaming music. And since the day Edison first took on the challenge of making electric light better, he launched the electrical revolution. His light still illuminates the world today. Thomas Alva Edison was a great American inventor who always wanted to create practical things that would be useful in people's lives. His 3 greatest inventions opened up 3 major industries that continue to greatly impact our lives today.